children. Karen.
25 years seems like an awful long time, but actually it's just blown by so quickly, and the reason is because of all the wonderful teams that I've been able to work with throughout the years. I've learned so much from them and gained so much from their commitment to our mission and vision. And it's all because of them and my family and my little Alex, who makes things come down to a very personal level.
I didn't really prepare anything, but as Karen said, 25 years has really flown by. It just seems like a blur. It seems like just yesterday was my first day at McBride Center, and I had no clue what I was doing. But I have always enjoyed my coworkers, but I've especially enjoyed the people that I've been able to serve. And the last 10 years in self-directed has really been a really great 10 years. So thank you.
Well, first off, I have to thank Prudence York for hiring me all those years ago, because I wouldn't be here now if she didn't. And I had to. And actually, I don't think she realized she'd be stuck with me this long. No, that's the only thing. But I do thank you for your guidance and your friendship through all these years. And we are very lucky to have you lead us through this very changing world that's ahead of us. So thank you for that. I have to thank my brother. He's always there for me. And wow, 25 years. I mean, I guess they do say when time flies and you're having fun. We do have some fun at it. When it's appropriate, we do have some fun. You know, we all have to have a little of that. But, you know, Enable's a wonderful place to work. I mean, there's a lot of reasons, but mostly our co-workers are just amazing. They actually showed up for me, so I'm very impressed with that. They are hard workers. They are so talented. Their hearts are so big. They give so much to the families and individuals they work with. The other reason are the families and individuals we serve. We learn so much from them every day. They are the force behind us for what we do every day. And I also like to thank the board of directors and our management team. You guys listen to us and support us through a lot of things. Sometimes we may agree to disagree sometime, but that's okay, it makes things interesting. And finally, I know many of you know that Carol Tyler will be leaving us soon. And I'd just like to extend a huge thank you to her for all her support and friendship she's given to so many of us through the years. And I think she deserves, a round of applause.
Ladies and gentlemen, during her 30-year career at Enable, this woman has been a tireless advocate for people with disabilities. From accessible buses to consumer-directed personal services, she's been a leader who truly changed the world. Through all her activities, she's always found the time to advocate on behalf of individual people, a job she still finds rewarding today. Ladies and gentlemen, Sally Johnston.
Thank you so very much. I won't take very much time this evening, but it's been a great ride. 30 years, I don't know where they went, but I wanted to tell you just a couple of things. I remember when I began with Enable, which was United Cerebral Palsy Center at the time, and Frank Sirianni was the director, and I was hired to do a residential program. It was very unique at the time. There were a lot of residential programs, but there was nothing for people with severe disabilities. And Caroline Collier and Bernice Schultz were the pioneers in developing such a service for people with disabilities. And Carol actually sought me. I was the program director of Easter Seal Society. And let me tell you, I was green, really green when I came into the service. I knew nothing about Medicaid regulations and all of that stuff. It's really complicated. And I was so excited. We were a great team. Monica Gaps here, what a wonderful team we were. We were so excited about freeing people with physical disabilities from institutions and bringing them into the community. And I began this program, as I said, very green, and I moved into the UCP Center at the time, and it was the only space they had for us was the loan closet for wheelchairs. And it was a very small room, and I moved in with the director and our social worker, and a whole bunch of wheelchairs in there, and you could only begin to imagine the excitement with somebody with a motorized wheelchair. It was very interesting, and to say the least, Frank got us another space very quickly before he lost his director and social worker. And then we moved to the United Way building in the basement where there was some mice and some other critters, but at least we had some more space, and we weren't, I wasn't running over people. And my first job was to train people. And I didn't know what I was doing. I was reading all these rights, trying to figure it out. And I found I had to train people in fire safety. So I found this antique curriculum, apparently, I didn't know it was, and proceeded to demonstrate with different fire experiences and almost caught United Way on fire. Thank goodness the staff saved me and United Way. But my proudest, and I loved working in that job. It was, you know, some of the things, I was part-time recreation specialist at the time, and we wanted to make community experiences real. So I won't tell you some of the things we did, but they were good, and people really enjoyed them, and they got some real community experiences. My fondest memory is organizing for the consumer-directed program in New York State, better known as self-directed personal services through Enable. It empowers people. It's all about what we are all about. It empowered people to have control over their lives, to be able to interview, hire, supervise, and be in control. That meant so much to me. And now I've moved on to advocacy work, which has been a part of my life forever. And I'm loving Enable, and thank you very much.
Everyone has commented on how 25 years passes so quickly. It does. My first association with Enable was when we were on Court Street, working with little babies and little children and their families, people who were first diagnosed with cerebral palsy, when it really was the beginnings of the UCP Center. I enjoyed those times. I enjoyed especially teaching children how to move the first time, seeing the joy in the parents' faces when the child was able to sit up. Those small gains meant the world to me. And throughout my career, I've been very blessed to have different associations with Enable. This past summer, I worked in the preschool program and again, had the opportunity to meet and work with many different children and their families and to look at the small gains that these children make and what a big impact that has on their lives. Yay, that's right. And my other role now is a teacher, and I think that I have to thank Enable for the foundation that was laid with me and how to relate to families and how to relate with young children. And now I have the great opportunity to share that knowledge with future physical therapists. So thank you very much.
Everyone,
I didn't really prepare any remarks, but I'll try to speak extemporaneously and first say thank you very much for this enormous honor. And I specifically want to acknowledge the students, faculty, staff, and community members affiliated with the Syracuse University Disability Cultural Center. And without the work that was done by the Chancellor's Task Force on Disability, which was led by Dr. Arlene Cantor, who's one of my guests this evening, we wouldn't be in the role that we are today. And I also want to acknowledge specifically Senior Vice President of Student Affairs, Reverend Dr. Thomas Wolf, and my mentor and supervisor, Rebecca Reed-Kantrowitz from the Division of Student Affairs, and Rachel Zborgeri from the Center on Human Policy Law and Disability Studies, who's been working at Syracuse University for 25 years in the roles of advocacy and activism and education, and an upcoming leader in the disability rights movement, Mr. Eddie Zaremba, who's the president of the Disability Student Union, all of my guests this evening. So I want to thank all of them, and also specifically all the work that's been done by the Division of Student Affairs. This is the first disability cultural center in the Division of Student Affairs in the United States. That's never happened before, and we are the first to have a full-time director, and I'm honored to be that person. So also I want to acknowledge a lot of you in this room. I've worked with members of the Beyond Compliance Coordinating Committee and going beyond compliance. Compliance is not good enough. We want to aim for a sense of belonging, right, Arlene? And also to think about the work of the Disability Law Society and QSASL, our new sign language club, and all of the different organizations with whom I work very closely, including the people in this room. So thank you very much. Very honored.
we have some students here tonight.
On behalf of American Food and Bedding, I'd like to thank everyone for this award. I know that our ownership will work tirelessly to give those folks an opportunity who really need one, and we certainly do appreciate this award. Thank you very much.
Disability who has overcome challenges and hurdles on the way to success. For 3 years, Courtney McCabe has been employed as a teacher's assistant at the World of Wonder Child Care, where she enjoys working with the children and watching them grow. She is very self-sufficient, has an apartment, owns her car. She's shown tremendous growth in independence, has become an effective advocate for herself as well. The Shining Lights Committee was impressed with her nomination. I was pleased to honor her this evening. Please welcome Courtney McCabe. Dean Cullen worked for Enable as a direct service worker for 15 years. He passed away in 2010, leaving a legacy of caring that embodies the values, creativity, and enthusiasm that are the hallmarks of excellence in direct service. Dean's zest for life and his ability to enrich the lives of others will never be forgotten. The Direct Service Award is dedicated to his memory. After working less than 2 months in her position in our group home, Courtney Burke was faced with a medical emergency for one of the residents. She made certain the individual was safe, contacted emergency services, stayed on the phone with them while monitoring and reporting the individual's status. Her quick response, attention to detail, calmness during a crisis led to a positive outcome for the individual, literally saving her life. This year's Dean Cullen Direct Service Award is presented to Courtney Burke.
Wrote a little something. I can't express how humbled and appreciative I feel right now. I want to thank my mom so much for showing me that compassion is valuable in many ways. Daphne Washburn, you immediately demonstrated care and concern for myself and for Aaron when the crisis occurred, and I truly felt supported because of you. Tracy Holmes taught me side by side for a couple months when I was preparing to work in a house. She showed me to care for the clients as if they were my own family. She demonstrated that decisions may lead me down a harder road, but the end result will all be worth it. And to Gina and Amy, I hold you both in such high regard. I love that you lead by example with understanding, composure, and dignity. And lastly, to Aaron Radney. Aaron, you make me feel lucky to work here. You've come so far this past year, and you can accomplish anything you want in life. Don't ever forget that. Again, I'm truly humbled, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Very nice. Ladies and gentlemen, the Shining Lights Award celebration is made possible by our corporate sponsors. How about a hand for First Niagara? NY Mellon. And Bell Shannon. Central New York Agency. Celis Blue Cross Blue Shield. Thank you. Gonna get okay. I was worried what I did. I'm just reading along here, yeah? Well, the winner will pick up the prize at the registration table. We don't want to forget to say that. For those of you who are the winners of the silent auction, if you want an item there, the auction tables have been moved to the hallway to make it easier for you to pay Abel's founding father, who gave freely of his talents and his time to benefit the organization. Lionel and Anita Grossman were the principal founders of the Syracuse Cerebral Palsy Center, which later became Enable. Their daughter, Faith, was an accomplished artist in the design and construction of pottery. They were enthusiastically involved in program development and fundraising for the fledgling agency in the 40s and the 50s. Lionel's son, Murray Grossman, is here with us in this evening, and we'd like to ask Murray to step forward and help present the award. Thank you.
And I'd like just to say a few words, if I may. It's really moving for me and my wife to be here and see the awards to these people who have given so much of their lives to help other people. I know if my father were here, he would be even more outspoken about his desire to say something good about these people. I would like to tell you a little bit how we got involved. It'll take about 3 minutes. I talk very fast, and I also know how to use a mic. My sister was born in 1943, and it took about 3 years before we knew what was wrong with her. I was a medical student at the time, and I had no idea. It took a doctor in Rochester to make the diagnosis, and my father was a very aggressive man, decided that he was going to get my daughter help. To his absolute horror, there was nothing in the city of Syracuse, absolutely nothing. Most of the people with cerebral palsy were institutionalized. Horrible, horrible thing. He found a man by the name of Phelps down in Cockeysville, Maryland, who actually had a clinic taking care of these children. And he sent my sister down there for 2 years. It was heart-wrenching. And she begged him not to send her back. And so he talked a young orthopedist by the name of Mark Harwood to go down there and spend 2 months studying under Phelps. And Harwood came back, and together with Thelma Kleinhans, whose husband was a baseball coach at Syracuse University and was a physical therapist, set up the first clinic. He got the city of Syracuse to give him a building in Wheaton-Johnston, the old rheumatic fever hospital area. He talked the unions into donating their time. He talked builders into giving them equipment and materials so they could fix the place up. And they started the clinic with a handful of people, not 16,000 or whatever the figure was, or 1,600, but about 8 or 10. And it began to grow, and he needed money. And he went to the state. The state said, well, we can't give you money until you've been operating for 3 years. And he said, I can't be operating for 3 years without money. It was the original catch-22 before the book was written. And so he decided he had to raise money. So he went to the university, and they gave him Archbold Stadium. And he went to the National Football League, and they agreed to put on an exhibition game every year here in Syracuse to raise money for this clinic. And so for years, we had 2 of the big professional teams come in and play a football game at Archbold Stadium. And when that finally ended, he still didn't have enough money, and the state would not come forward. And so he built a house, and he called it the Happiness House. He built it on East Genesee Street, outer East Genesee Street, and he raffled it off. And he got enough money to keep going for another 3 years. And finally, the state came up with the money and the support to keep the clinic going. So it was a hectic time, and he had the kind of energy and commitment to do what needed to be done in this community. I myself was on the board for about 8 years and was the president when we changed leadership and brought in Dick Pratt, and it was Dick Pratt who had the vision and the understanding that the needs in the community were far greater than just cerebral palsy. And it was he that suggested the name Enable. And once we did that, our client base increased very dramatically, and we have today what you heard earlier, Prudence York talk about. So it's really with great pride that I, as a member of the family, am here to give this award. And I, as a member of the family, can see, because I went up there a few months ago and went through the clinic, can see what has happened from the little effort, that football game and that house we built, that clinic that now exists. It's a very big moment for me. Very big moment.
Over the background in electrical and computer engineering, Leanne Morfitt's research is focused on the application of technologies to those with special needs. Her activities include supporting families with children with an autism spectrum disorder through various advocacy projects, most notably the use of touchpad technology, like an iPad. In a true reflection of Enable's founding father, she also assists families in need of school advocacy, runs a family support group, helps families of newly diagnosed children connect to resources in the community. Please join me in welcoming Leanne Morfitt.
Good evening, and thank you. This certainly is an honor. I have to tell you, I feel a little bit like a phony standing up here. I have done the parent advocacy they talked about. I have done the support for professionals, for technology. But my motives and my outreach to others, they aren't necessarily as altruistic as you might believe. Truth be told, I have gained far more. Excuse me. have gained more from my interactions with the special needs community than I have ever given. When I first started doing outreach to others, it was a selfish pursuit. I, like many other mothers to children with special needs, found myself no longer employed and felt at a loss after having a graduate degree in my pocket and a job where I'd always received a W-2 all my adult life. A lot of my self-worth was wrapped up in a career that, frankly, I really wasn't that happy with. You can ask my mom, my father, or my husband, my sister, who are out here. I didn't feel like it was making a difference. When my son was diagnosed at 24 months as having autism, my world changed. My hopes and expectations were up in the air. I am ashamed to say that I grieved, and sometimes still do. Many of the people I counted on in my life, those that I thought I could turn to in a time of crisis, they just weren't able to support me. Despite the countless therapists, teachers, coordinators, social workers that were walking in and out of my home during those early intervention days, I felt alone and isolated like I had at no other time in my life. Reaching out to other parents and professionals for me was a way to connect with others. It has brought me such joy to have those moments where you just know you're getting it. There's no need for explanation. As much as I wanted to be there for others and support them, I just learned so much more from them. Supporting other families has been particularly special for me. I just want to share a few of the ideas that, had I not met with some of these families, I would have failed to recognize. A few of the families I know are parents through adoption and knowingly through special needs children. They have been the ones that really helped me to embrace the joy in my child as he is. You see, they don't share the biological guilt that some of us parents feel, that we are to blame for some of our children's difficulties. Words like genetic and hereditary mean nothing to these people. They just love their kids with abandon and don't need to do so. The other group of parents I've had the privilege to share with were some of the moms that didn't have the education that I had. They didn't have a master's degree from a private institution. And these women and their fierce dedication to their children and their intuitive nature, they showed me that sometimes you gotta set the books aside and you just gotta spend time with your child. No fancy degrees are required, many things, and love is a great motivator. The other thing that I've learned is from yet another group of parents that I worked with, and those are those who have resources, those who are nearly heroic in their advocacy efforts for their family. Even with all that, it doesn't seem sometimes that they need support. They just seem so strong. But providing these families with events they feel comfortable to attend, and just sometimes merely someone to listen to them and their concerns, is such a valuable and necessary support. And there's still a lot more working to do in our community in those regards. I can think of some parents who are also deserving of recognition, those who have made an impact on my family's life and those who have helped me to do some of the advocacy projects that I've worked on, and I want to thank them right now. In particular, Bobby and Greg Rogers, Darcy Smithers, Dwayne Diedrich, Carrie Fitzgerald, Sonia and Rob Miller, Jennifer Pollock, Jody McDonald, Tracy Diamond, Simon Asbury, and Anne-Marie and Steve Mooring. I also want to thank Enable for this award for providing me the initial venue for the iPad 101 presentation. They had a lot of faith in me and my husband to provide our initial presentation because they had asked us to do the presentation sight unseen, didn't see our materials, and they were very gracious in supporting us in that effort. And of course I want to thank my children and my husband for providing me the inspiration, support, and patience, especially when dinner is leftovers again, and I get stuck with bath duty for the evening. So, my husband likes to say there's no such thing as coincidence in life. And I have to say that I'm really grateful he's right. I've been blessed with a lot of things in my life, a supportive family, an education, a lot of abilities, which I took for granted for a long time. All these experiences in my life, the things that I love, my education, I can finally put them to really good use. My ability to provide technical insight to those who work with special needs finally makes me feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. With the expectation of my husband and children, I can say that this sense of purpose I have is, with the exception of my husband and children, I can say that this sense of purpose is perhaps the greatest gift I've ever been given in my life. And I look forward to the opportunity to continue. Thank you very much.
Last year, and their siblings, Mary and Jim, continue to support Enable to this day. And give them a round of applause if you like. Thank you. Thank you so much. The William Fitzpatrick Community Service Award, presented by Excelis Blue Cross Blue Shield, is designed to recognize a community leader who exemplifies Enable's mission to enhance the quality of life for people with disabilities. Robert Simpson, President and Chief Executive Officer of Center State CEO, was a driving force behind the creation of the new organization through the merger of the Metropolitan Development Association of Syracuse and the Greater Syracuse Chamber of Commerce. He served as co-chair of the Central New York Regional Economic Development Council that secured over $103 million in state economic development funds for projects throughout Central New York. He's re-energized the business community and created new opportunities for all entrepreneurs. Please welcome Rob Simpson.
Thank you, Prudence, for the work that you do. Julie, for your role as the co-chair today. It means a great deal to accept this award from both of you. There is a part of me that doesn't quite feel completely deserving this award for a number of reasons, not the least of which is as Sally Johnson was wheeling into her first day of work 30 years ago, I was being dragged by the ear to the principal's office, pulling on Jamie Gudayek's pigtails. I haven't yet dedicated my whole life, to any cause, the way that many of you in this room have. But I do intend for this work that I'm doing now, and that I'm doing with my peers and colleagues, to be my life's work. And so I am really grateful to be able to share a podium with so many of you who've given so much for so long to such a great cause. Always, when I accept an award of any kind, first and foremost, I owe a deep debt of gratitude to my wife, who actually tonight is performing my role, my responsibility in putting our 5.5-month-old son, Benjamin, to sleep. Despite being a small business owner and a mom, she also enables, no pun intended, she enables so much of my work by being my support system. Second, my team, Jane, Miko, Dan Young are two of our really talented team over here today. There is no recognition that can be cast our way as an organization that falls on my shoulders. It is a shared enterprise with so many people, and I'm really grateful to have partners like you and the rest of us in the work that we do. And third and finally, our members. One of the things that makes the job that I get to do working to support our economic and community development in Central New York so rewarding is that I get to work for a phenomenal business community who is giving and generous and engaged and hoping to drive, I think, a transformation that I hope all of you feel is palpable here in Central New York. It's really quite a pleasure for me to be able to go to work and do that every day, and I owe them more than anybody my thanks. I like to think that Center State CEO and Enable share a common goal, and I see it as such. We are all working to build a more inclusive community. And I mean that in every sense of the word. a community where there is opportunity, economic, social, environmental for all. And that is something that I take very personally, as I know you do. Most importantly, though, a thank you belongs to the staff and volunteers of the Naval, who, I take great pride in the work that we do, and I feel great about the difference I get to make in trying to help build a more successful community in Central New York. But the work that you do is not necessarily to make a more successful community, but to make a community that is more human. And let there be no mistake about which of those is the more noble enterprise. So thank you all very much for your work, and I appreciate the recognition tonight.